Support for Audacious with Chion Wolf provided by a generous contribution from Suzanne Hopgood in memory of Frank Lord.
From Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford, this is Audacious. I'm Chion Wolf. Cheese, onions, tea leaves. If someone told you they could read your future using any of these, no cards or palms needed, your first reaction might be dismissive. You might call it superstitious, silly, or maybe even delusional. After all, we live in an age of hard data and clinical diagnoses. So why would anyone look for answers to anything in a crumbling wedge of cheddar? But sometimes, when this world is too chaotic to make any sense of, your psyche may desire something a little more otherworldly to light the way. There's this moment in the 1977 film Close Encounters of the Third Kind that this makes me think of. Richard Dreyfuss plays a man who's haunted by something he can't explain, and one night at dinner with his family, he starts shaping his mashed potatoes into a strange little mountain. And he's not joking. He's not playing. Something in him is pulling him toward this shape, this symbol. His family is watching him, looking very confused, and then he starts to cry. And then he looks at his mashed potato mountain and says,
"This means something. This is important."
Even if you've never had a moment like that, most of us know at some point in our lives what it feels like to need something to mean something. And that sentiment goes way back, long before modern science. When people needed to understand something they couldn't see, they turned to what they had: bones, water, flame, food, the sky. To feel closer to the mysterious forces around them, to ask the universe, am I safe? Am I loved? What's next? And that instinct, it'll probably always be with us. So today, you're going to meet 3 people who've chosen to listen to that instinct. They use cheese, onions, and tea leaves to help their clients reflect, decide, and feel connected to nature and the universe. Jennifer Billock joins us for our first delightful tango with tyromancy, the ancient art of divining the future through cheese. It dates back to the 2nd century when Greek writer and dream interpreter Artemidorus gave it a mention. But the practice found real popularity in medieval England, where cows were plentiful, milk was flowing, and people were particularly eager to find meaning in the everyday. So, what kinds of questions have people throughout history turned to cheese to answer?
Girls wanting to know who they're going to date, who they're going to marry, as we all do with with divination, right? So,
can you imagine meeting somebody and you're like, well, how did you meet? Well, I had my cheese read and it worked.
I mean, you never know.
You never know. And then you'll know what you can have at the wedding.
That's right.
Lots of cheese.
It's like those wedding cakes that are like the big cheese wheels that are just stacked on top of each other. I want one so bad.
I want that for you.
Thank you. I don't even want it for a wedding. I just want it for like a Tuesday.
I know. Okay, so how did you get into this? How did this come into your life?
So I was a travel writer before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit and travel writing basically disappeared. So I have been kind of witchy and doing divination since I was really little. And I have always been in the food industry. Like when you're growing up, you generally pick either retail or food. And I always went to food. I don't know what other option there would have been.
I can't think of any. No.
Right. So I was like, well, maybe I'll start a newsletter called Kitchen Witch about the intersection of food and witchcraft, because I have a background in both food and witchcraft. And I was trying to think of ways that you could promote it to be like, oh, you might read about this or you might read about that. So I Googled weird ways to tell fortunes with food. And I found this big list. And once I hit cheese on the list, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. So, yeah. And then I spent couple years learning about it and about tyromancy and researching and learning all the facts. And there wasn't really a guide on the best way to do it. So I had to kind of form it into my own divination practice by using the things that I already knew about divination.
When you do a reading of cheese, what are you looking for?
So I am looking for shapes, patterns, numbers, letters, lines, holes, configurations of little spots, like just anything on the surface of the cheese that I can see. I don't use the taste or the smell because I think that blue cheese and Swiss cheese are disgusting.
Yeah, me too. Oh, fam.
Yeah, no, I hate them so much. And they're some of the best cheeses for this. Like, you can really use any cheese, but those are probably the two best. And then people will like break off a chunk and hold it in my face and be like, what did my cheese say? And I can't control my expression. And then they get really nervous. And I'm like, no, it's nothing bad. It's just that your cheese is disgusting.
Yeah.
Like,
there must be a better way to not do this anywhere near your cheese.
Yeah.
So pictures.
Pictures, yeah.
So when you are looking at a piece of cheese and you get a clear message, how much of it is a feeling and how much of it is an interpretation?
I usually talk my way through what I'm seeing, as you'll experience when we do this with your cheese, is that I talk my way through it. And then sometimes things really resonate and I start to get like this like full body kind of chill. And then that's when I know I'm like, all right, I'm fully in touch here. But it's a combination of both. And I think that works well. People seem to think that either way is pretty accurate. So maybe it's some things I feel more than others, but both are accurate. Maybe. I don't want to be like, I'm always right. But like, sometimes I'm wrong.
What?
I know.
Well, actually, that leads me to my next question. When you were figuring out, first of all, what this was all about and how it felt to do the process of interpreting the cheese, how did you know that you were ready to do readings, that you were right enough to do readings?
I didn't really consider whether I was right enough. I thought I was ready when I had taught myself how to do it to the point where I didn't need to look at like any notes and I didn't need to like struggle to see things in the cheese. And then once I started doing readings, like it happened with the first reading that I started to feel really connected to it.
Will you tell me a story about a particular reading that stood out to you for whatever reason?
Sure. Oh, I have so many. It was with a woman and I was looking at her past cheese and I was telling her that there had been some sort of event or some sort of change that was kind of like really hit her in her core, in her foundation. And I saw the word bunny in the cheese, which is weird because I don't normally see words that are that long, but it was like very clearly written bunny. And she freaked out and told me that about 6 months or a year ago, her dog died and her dog's name was Bunny.
Stop.
And I was just like, cool. I'm sorry for your loss.
Now, when you say you saw the word bunny written in the cheese, do you mean you could see like cracks in the cheese that literally spelled what looked like bunny? Or you could sort of just, there was some sort of bunny coming through, but it didn't actually spell bunny?
No, it actually spelled bunny. It was really weird.
Whoa.
It was really weird. So sometimes it's like that. Like there was somebody who their question that they wanted to know of the cheese was if they're on the right path, if they're doing the right things. And so I had her cut her piece of cheese in half and the number 100 was on the middle of her cheese. Like it was the only thing on the cheese. And I'm like, yep, you're doing good.
What I find kind of interesting too is you're asking them to cut a piece of cheese and give it to you. So it's almost a partnership between the cheese and the cut design that the person makes. And also even the way maybe it separates. Like there's a cheese that I chose for you. And when I cut it, a little piece sort of broke off at the end. And so it was like this dance we've done together. So what can you say about when you do a reading, the partnership between the cheese and the person who is cutting the cheese?
So it is interesting because it definitely makes that connection. And I always tell people to pick cheeses that they like because they're going to eat them, I hope. And that even gives it more of a connection. But if I'm picking out the cheese for someone, there's still that connection there because I've asked for their input. I have, in some cases, brought them over to the cheese case and been like, tell me what you want. And they're always making some sort of a choice about the cheese, which connects them to it. As far as slicing the cheese.
Nice, thanks.
Thank you.
That's a solution.
It's really funny to me because I can tell immediately the type of person that you are from how you cut the cheese. It's so funny. I see people make like very perfect little squares. I see people cut like weird shapes out of the middle of the cheese. Some people just take a bite out of it and put it down. And I'm like, okay, like I know something about you now.
That's data.
Yeah. So it definitely shows a little bit of personality.
Have you ever experienced a cheese that gave you the heebie-jeebies or the heebie-cheebies?
Oh, the heebie-jeebies.
Thanks.
I love it. I'm going to tell that to my husband.
You can have it.
Thank you. I decided if I ever have a cheese shop, this is unrelated to your question, I'm going to name it Tyra Munchies.
Wow.
You can't have that. Trademark.
I don't want it. Do you know what terrible karma that would be?
Yeah, really?
To do that to a witch? Anyway, heebie-cheebies.
Heebie-cheebies. I have seen some cheeses where I can see that like someone's going to die soon or that somebody really needs to go to the doctor for something. It's not so much giving me the heebie-cheebies. It's because, I mean, to me, it's just part of life.
I try to think about this from the cheese's perspective. Like, here's this cheese that's been through a lot to get here.
Sorry, I just had this vision of a piece of cheese, like screaming as you're cutting it.
Yes, I was going to get to that, right? Like it went through a lot to get here. And now here's this radio host who's doing this episode. And she's not even sure about all this, but okay, let's just see what happens. And then I slice through it in a certain way and it's screaming.
Oh, good. Ah!
I mean, unless it feels like a great massage. I don't know. I don't know how the cheese feels, but I wonder, like, do you think cheeses want this? Or are they like, crap, I got chosen for this show and someone's going to read me. This is not what I wanted.
I think it would make sense for me to start answering this question with a little bit of background of my beliefs, which is that everything is energy and we all share energy. And I mean like people, pets, plants, my desk, your microphone, that pen, right? Like we all share energy. So I want to say kind of.
Kind of like a willing participant or kind of not?
Kind of like a willing participant, because what generally happens, and this happens to people that I'm reading for, and this happens to me, is that we go to the store to pick out cheese or to the cheese counter and something really speaks to you. Like you can immediately hone in on a piece of cheese that you're like, this is the one that I need. And I don't think that that's just a one-way thing. I think that that's like a fluctuation in energy, right?
I have to say that when I went cheese shopping for this and I set my intentions, when I saw all the choices, I thought about so many aspects of what I was looking for, how much I wanted it to represent me, how much it would make me smile or what. There was one cheese that was rated like one of the best cheeses in the world. It's locally made. The guy gave me a sample of it. I was so surprised and impressed at how good it was. And there was still something in me that was like, but that's not the cheese.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is.
That's it, right?
That's a cheese being like, I'm not it.
It's not for you.
Buy me and eat me, but it's not for this.
Say cheese.
All right, so at this point, Jennifer offered to read my future in a block of cheese. So I sent her a photo of the one that I picked, including the very intentional way that I sliced it. For this deeply spiritual moment, I chose the most sacred of cheeses, a Godminster red chili Devil's Dance British cheddar cheese. Because if she's going to read my destiny in dairy, It might as well have a great name and come with a kick.
All right, so this is your future cheese. The first thing I want to point out is that right in the center of the cheese, you have an owl's face. So there's two eyes.
I see it.
And so that really represents wisdom and having some sort of sage knowledge. So I feel like there's a lot that you have learned that you are moving into the future with, and a lot that you have recently learned too. So it's a combination of old knowledge, like past life kind of knowledge, and then the stuff that you're learning now. So you're able to embrace that and pull it into your future life, which is great. So immediately, I love that that's the first thing I see. That always means I'm reading for somebody who's really smart.
Thanks.
You're like, yes, I am really smart. Thank you.
I have learned a lot in the last couple of years, like no other time in my life.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear it. This right here is kind of concerning. There's like a ridge circle of cheese with a darker spot in the middle, right at the top, right where your intuitive space. I would expect to see like just this darker spot without the ridge of cheese around it. So even though you have been learning a lot and your foundation is great and you've got like the past life knowledge, you're still kind of second guessing your intuition. You see it and you like your intuition tells you something and it's like, hey, you should do this. And you're like, I hear you, intuition, but have you thought of this? You're like,
That you're wrong?
Yeah, exactly. You're kind of playing devil's advocate with yourself. I don't think that you need to do that because clearly you've got this gigantic owl in your cheese. And keep in mind that this is the future. So you may not be feeling like you're doing it right now. You could be doing it in like 6 months. So if you feel that kind of starting to creep in, remind yourself that you have a cheese owl and you have the wisdom of cheeses of centuries gone by. But your foundation is really strong. So if you were able to just like take some deep breaths, do some grounding exercises, kind of chill out a little bit, do a little bit of self-care, it'll help you really kind of break down that barrier between you and your intuition. I love that this barrier around your intuition is not fully closed, because that means that like part of the time you're like, yeah, intuition, you're right, you got it. And then the other part of the time you're like, like,
You're not saying what I want to hear at all.
Exactly. It's like reading the tarot cards when you know what they're going to say and then they punch you in the face and you're like, you big jerk. So solid foundation showing stability, the wise owl showing wisdom, the intuition's partially blocked. You have the letter T right here in your cheese.
I see.
So the letter T somehow relevant to your future, either in like someone's name or a place or even like a street name or like a hobby that you end up really enjoying, or maybe you really get into tarot. Who knows? Let's see. And then we'll move down to the lower part of the cheese where it appears that there is a race car here.
I see that. Wow. It's so funny when you point it out. I see it right away, but I didn't.
Right? And then you can't unsee it.
Right. The owl and the race car.
The owl and the race car. And the little pepper flakes are kind of the wheels here. So the race car is kind of speeding off the cheese. It's right at the very edge. The back end of it's kind of a blur. So the good thing is that it shows forward motion. It shows that at least a little bit you've listened to your intuition, you've brought in the knowledge from the owl, and you're like, all right, I'm ready to go. So this is moving on to a new challenge, to a new goal that you set for yourself. The only concern I would have is that because the back end of it is blurry and it's clearly like speeding, you might be moving too quickly. So there's an opportunity that's coming up for you, and give it some thought before you immediately dive in, and listen to your intuition and to your cheese owl.
A cheese owl.
And make sure that you take enough time to ground yourself and to remove any potential second guessing. And also remember, think about the tea and whatever that could mean for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you ever just eat a cheese, or are you always looking at cheeses? Like, can you ever turn this off? I mean, do you want to? What's that like for you?
I turn it off for myself. I mean, I don't go to the cheese counter and think, oh, this would be a really good cheese fortune cheese for me to eat, like, or for me to read for myself, because I don't want to spoil it for myself. So I don't read my own cheese. I just enjoy the experience of cheese.
What's your favorite cheese?
So my favorite, anytime just snacking cheese, I'm grabbing it from the fridge really quick, bought it at the grocery store, is Colby Jack. My favorite, like, fancy cheese is Taleggio, and another one called Creamy Sexy Mushroom, which is a triple cream with a blend of forest mushrooms in it. And it is mushroomy and milky and just, oh, that's incredible. And then my my final favorite cheese, and I can't recall the name of it right now. I have it on my TikTok somewhere. I call it sausage cheese because it looks like a little smoky link. But I get it. It's Polish, and I get it from the Polish grocery store. And it is absolutely phenomenal, but I have to buy it sparingly because the containers are like big, and I will snack and eat the entire container all at once. Yeah.
Your Instagram profile says that you're the world's only professional cheese fortune teller.
That we know of.
That we know of. Why do you think that is? Why aren't there more of you? Not you, but that kind of you.
I think that people either don't know about it or they think it's fake. But like most people who know about it from video games.
Really?
Yeah, from The Witcher and Baldur's Gate. And from Dungeons and Dragons. It's a big deal in Dungeons and Dragons too. But because it's been so based in games in like recent history, people just don't believe that it's something ancient like it is.
Here's what I can see happening after we end our Zoom call is I, having seen what you saw and having watched you take in this cheese and interpret it, I can see how my curiosity piqued, may start looking at cheese differently and wondering what I might see and interpret as a totally untrained person. What do you think about that?
People have told me I give them complexes. Because they can never look at cheese the same way. They're always like looking for whatever the surface of the cheese says. And that's why I don't do it for myself, because I don't want to give myself the complex. I just want to eat my cheese.
But when you picture me doing it and I'm like, oh, you know what I think is see this, and maybe this means that. Are you like, whoa, lady, you're just making it up? Or are you like, yeah, maybe you're onto something?
No, I love that for you. I love it. I think that it's like a muscle, like you exercise it. I think everyone has the capacity. I think there's something that for some people needs to be unlocked. I mean, I would fully believe that if you were looking at your cheese and you were like, oh, I see this in the cheese, fully would believe that that is appropriate for you. And it's interesting because sometimes during readings, people will be like, oh, well, you see this, but I see this. And then I'm like, oh, all right, that's cool. I'm glad that you told me. Let's talk about how those are different and how they're similar and what that could mean.
Well, Jennifer Billock, thank you so much for talking with me.
You're welcome. Thanks for talking with me, Kion.
You can check out a photo of the cheese that I chose at ctpublic.org/audacious. By the way, according to Jennifer, when December 31st rolls around, you can partake in a very real and very holy New Year's Eve tradition, letting Swiss cheese tell you how your year is going to go. You cut a block of Swiss cheese in half, choose a side, flip it over, and count the holes. Even numbers are a good sign. Odd, not so much. When we get back, if you know me or you listen to the show with some regularity, you will not be surprised to hear what food we found next to sub in for that old magic 8-ball.
Talk to your onions. Talk to them. Let them know what their purpose is. Ask them for their help and go from there.
I'm Kion Wolf. I feel like I already do that. This is Audacious. Stay with me. This is Audacious. I'm Kion Wolf. When we noodled on the idea of doing an episode about people who try to predict the future using food, producer Jessica Severin DeMartinez knew it could not air unless we included onion divination. Why? because she knows how deeply I love onions. They are my favorite food. So when Jessica found Sarah Napoli, who uses onions in her predictions, she knew this episode wasn't just happening. It was bloomin'. Known to her 342,000 followers on social media as the Woodland Witch, Sarah shares heart-centered insights into modern witchcraft and invites people to build meaningful rituals and trust their inner knowing. And that inner knowing can be known in many ways. Okay, so how does this work?
A lot of onion divination is done by observing the sprouting patterns. So I know in European folklore, they would try to determine who would be a good partner or when they would get married, and they would carve into each individual onion. They would have multiple with different answers. They would ask their question over the next couple of days. Whichever onion sprouted first was seen to be the right answer. And this could have been done to ask any sort of question. Really, it didn't necessarily have to do with love or anything like that, but that was the most common way that it was seen.
When I think about what I want to know, the first thing that comes to my mind is love life too. I've been single for like 4 years and I'm fine with it. I'm cool with it. Like I'm very much happy in my solitude. I'm happy with myself. Life is great. If I never meet anybody, it's okay. I'll still feel fulfilled and wonderful. At the same time, like I was born to love and I know that I'm a really good partner. And so because like my soul doesn't depend on it, part of me is resisting asking about my love life, but I'm also really curious about it because when you're really great at something, you want to explore it. So if I were to ask about my love life, I mean, is there like a limit to the amount of onions, and how would I think about the question or how to ask the question about the future of my love life with onions?
So something you could ask would maybe be a time frame. Maybe put the different seasons. Have all 4 seasons, 4 different onions. Okay, in what season may I be more open or prone to finding love, partnership, things like that? You could just write on it with Sharpie and allow them to sit. I mean, you could put them in a sunny area. I mean, that kind of will help it sprout a little bit. Be very intentional with it. I'm a very big believer that, like, I believe in animism. So that is the belief system that all things have a spirit essence to them. Talk to your onions. Talk to them. Let them know what their purpose is. Ask them for their help and go from there.
Because you believe in animism, do you feel like the onions want to be read?
Yeah, I think with any sort of plant, herb, fruit, vegetable, whatever you're working with, I think like when I'm working on a ritual, I'm not telling the plant what it's doing. I'm asking for its assistance. They can tell you no. I believe you get like a sense and you have this like intuition and this knowing of like, I'm not doing something right, or like,
not this onion.
Not this onion. This onion's not into it.
How do you feel about onions?
I love onions. I think I work with them a lot more in an herbal perspective because I am an herbalist as well. So I think onions and garlic specifically are like nature's remedy for just about anything.
What are some other ways that you've been drawn to predict in the future?
One thing I've also studied in New England folk magic is egg divination. So basically what you do is you would crack an egg in a glass of water, ask your question and crack it. And the way that the egg looks, this is typically to see if somebody is like sending you negative energy, if you're surrounded by anything kind of nasty, or, maybe somebody's talking about you or something like that. You would study how the white of the egg, if it's spiking up or if there's bubbles in it or if there's blood spots in the egg, that kind of a thing, that would help you determine what kind of energy is around you or if somebody's talking about you or anything like that. So that one's really cool. I like that one a lot. I use it pretty regularly.
What would the egg look like if no one was talking badly about you? Everybody was just blasting their well wishes at you and all was right with the world.
Typically, the yolk will just settle at the bottom and the white will just sit right over it. There's not going to be any spikes, anything shooting up, any bubbles. It's just going to look very rounded and settled.
What if you're under the impression that everybody loves you and then it tells you this stuff and you're like, oh man?
Well, I think that just circles back to like spiritual hygiene, just keeping your energy clear. Because I mean, realistically, not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to have something nice to say. So at that point, maybe they are talking about you, but who cares? it's not affecting you. So
Let them.
let them. Yep.
I wonder what you think about our desire to read the future in different ways. I mean, this is a thread throughout humanity, and it probably always will be that we think we see the world, we think we know what's going to happen to a degree, but we're also aware that this is pure chaos and there's no controlling or predicting anything. When you think about how we have this unending desire to guess, predict, get clues, what does that tell you about us?
I think it's natural just from like an evolutionary standpoint to want to know more or to want to connect to something more. I think that's just ingrained in us. But when it comes to stuff like that, I think it can be an aspect of just wanting to connect and know more and build your intuition and things like that. But sometimes I think it is just wanting to have a sense of control over things. I think that's just how it is.
Are there any other divination tools that we haven't talked about that you love to work with?
I have dabbled a little bit in candle wax reading.
How does that work?
What you would do is take like a bowl of water and a candle that's lit and kind of pour the wax in the water, and you look at the shape of it, and you would ask a question, like you could ask a yes or no question, or like, for instance, if we're talking about love, like what is the initial of my future partner, and see what the wax says, like little things like that, which are more fun. I think tarot and oracle are more of like my day-to-day tried and true forms of divination for a lot of practitioners, I think. But those are like kind of the more fun ones just to dabble in.
And it makes me think about how, especially when you're asking yes or no questions, I think about how when you flip a coin to make a decision, you shouldn't make your decision based on what the coin says. You should make your decision based on how you react to what the coin says.
Right. And also what comes to your mind as the coin is flipping. What comes to your mind? Because that's what you truly want.
Right. And so it's not necessarily that the egg or the onion or the wax will tell you the answer and you need to obey it. It's how do you react to the question? What are you thinking as you're asking it? And what's your reaction to its result?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like those methods are definitely good ways to build your intuition, because then you can start trusting your decision making more and knowing where you are feeling led to.
All right. Well, Sarah Napoli, aka the Woodland Witch, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you for having me.
I know what you're thinking. Kyone, how did it go with the onion divination and your love life? In what season is it going to happen? Well, you bet that as soon as our interview was over, I went to the store. I very deliberately chose 4 special onions, came home, wrote the season names on them with a Sharpie, which felt weird to do, but if it works, it works, and then left them on a sunny windowsill. Now I, an onion expert who has seen many thousands of onions in various conditions, know that at least one of these onions should be popping some green shoots in about 3-4 weeks. So every day I checked them out, very excited to find out what season my beloved and I will finally meet. You ready? Well, she's not, because after 3 months, none of them sprouted. So I did the next best thing. I let it go and sautéed them with a bunch of butter and a delicious chicken tikka masala. What can I say? You can't hurry love, but you can caramelize it. After the break, we'll explore a type of ancient divination you're likely much more familiar with. I visit a reader who looks for pictures and symbols in tea leaves.
You have to believe in the unbelievable, and it does open yourself up to, oh wow, like I don't even know what's possible.
I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay tuned.
I feel that I can't go on. These precious words keep me hanging on. You can't hurry, love. You just have to wait. She said love don't come easy. It's a game of give and take. You can't hurry, love. You just have to wait. Just trust good time, no matter how long it takes. No love, love.
This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf. There's a little old shop on the shoreline of Connecticut that feels like stepping into someone's dream. The inside of this 300-year-old house smells earthy and sweet. There are comfy chairs, fireplaces, beautiful antique tables, and shelves full of tinctures and elixirs, cookies and chocolate, and giant, beautifully lit jars full of multicolored tea leaves. I'm at Tea and Tarot in Clinton, Connecticut with Rebecca Zaretzky. She's a tea leaf reader, animal communicator, and spiritual mentor who's been the voice in other people's cups for years. And today, she'll be reading mine. Tea leaf reading, or tasseography, likely began thousands of years ago in China, and then made its way to Europe in the 17th century along trade routes. In Scotland, Ireland, and England especially, it became a working-class divination practice, especially among women. For some, it was a way to access the unconscious. For others, it was a sacred practice, a way to speak with spirit or the ancestors or the self. All right, let's see how this goes.
Let me know when you're ready to go up to the reading room.
I'm ready. I also decided to wear something a little flowy for the experience.
Right. That
You
is
know?
so cool.
I'm pretty sure I'm in my caftan era. It's just beginning.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, you look very comfortable, and that's
Thanks.
exactly what we want.
Thanks.
I'm excited.
Me too. Cool.
I've been practicing your name all morning.
Nice.
Cayenne, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It
Oops.
rhymes with my own.
Oh.
Yeah, my own Cayenne.
Okay.
The mistake people often make is on. They say Cayenne.
It's much closer than Chion or
Yes.
Cheyenne or
Right.
the other names that I was.
Cayenne.
Okay, so where should we begin? How do you want to do this?
Maybe I can ask a bit about you. How did you get into reading tea leaves specifically?
First of all, in my family, my grandmother, I always knew she read tea leaves. She read coffee grinds. She was very intuitive and clairvoyant, but she was kind of quiet with her gifts, and she is actually not the one who taught me, but I always knew that it was in the family. I got my master certification in a couple different kinds of Reiki, and then I was doing animal communication, and I ended up joining a psychic circle where I was learning different psychic techniques, and it just so happened that they were teaching a tea leaf reading certification. And so as soon as I knew that, I was like, this is amazing because my grandmother did this, so I knew that it would be a connected experience for me. And as soon as I started learning, I could immediately see what was in the cup for me.
Now, you mentioned that you went to a certification.
Mm-hmm.
What is that like?
Over a period of weeks, we were given how to do tea leaf reading and then would practice. But really, for me, it was the practice that I did on my own that took me to that level. Most people did not really take to tea leaf readings like I did. I took it and ran with it. I ended up doing every single reading with a tea leaf reading. All of the animals I worked with, I used a tea leaf reading to see if that could add a layer. And now I get so much information from the tea leaves that I will use it whenever I really want a layered, like a lot of information. I'll use the tea leaf reading.
So walk me through how this will work. You have done it with water, without water. How is it going to go today?
Today we can experiment. So it'll naturally show itself. If it's going to be without water, I'll know. Although there was one last week where I went to grab the water because I'm like, okay, I'm not seeing much without the water here. As soon as I touched the water, I saw a whole image and I was like, oh, never mind. So we'll see, and we can do both. I feel like that'll be most informative for you if I do the whole process. So
you're grinding the tea leaves up in your hand, and are you feeling something right now or going somewhere?
I actually was taught a little bit differently than what others experience. So usually the sitter, which is you would drink the tea when it has water in it in many practices, but I was taught to drink it so that I get the full message by infusing all of my senses by connecting with the tea leaves. So right now I am taking these loose leaf tea leaves, and there are some flowers in there as well, and I am grinding them up, which makes the picture easier to read, but it also connects me to the leaves. And I start to go into a meditative state as I do this. And sometimes I ask the client who's sitting with me if they have an area of life they would like me to look into. Did you like to share that right now?
Yeah, I've been single for 4 years since my divorce, and I'm open to meeting someone, and so I'm curious about the timing.
Ooh, that's exciting. Okay. And I love that you also asked about timing, because that is something that you can see in my case, the bowl. So I just put down the leaves. I am seeing some things in here. Let's see. Oh, interesting. In the dry tea leaf bowl, I see a bird, a baby bird, coming out of their shell. And that is a message in itself, because there is a suggestion that in order to find the relationship that you're looking for, it will involve you coming out of your shell, out of your normal routine. Now, I do see the month of March, the word March, around the shell, randomly seeing Thursday. It's very specific. And I do see a music note.
Oh, there?
There it is, yeah, right above
see it.
But this is a message of you don't need to worry as much as you're worrying. It's going to happen for you. I feel like there is opportunity for you to meet new people on a journey or trip or traveling, which matches your caftan.
You know, it's funny. I bought the caftan because I'm going on my very first cruise in October. I've been drawn to trying out going on a cruise. I know for some people they recoil at the idea, but I am fascinated at the idea of it. And so that's the reason I got this caftan, was for this cruise.
That may be an opportunity for you. So it does feel like a lot of adventures being mentioned here. Now, let's do the water.
What do you do with the tea leaves after this is all done?
So even when I don't use the water, I have to discard it. The energy is on those leaves. And so especially when they're dry, I'll put them outside with the earth, or I will just discard them if they're wet. But there have been people that have asked to take them with them. Even when they're wet, they will put them in like a little container, and I don't know what they did with them, but they are yours to keep if you want them, if you wanted to do something ceremonial with them. Okay.
So you only just put a little dash of water in there.
I just put a little bit. I usually use my senses. I smell the tea with the hot water in it. I feel the energy of the leaves in the bowl with my hand. Validating messages, specific messages. Thank you, Spirit. I turn the bowl 3 times clockwise. Okay, thank you, Spirit, for specific messages. Okay. We're going to go back to your love life. I do see, I look like a flying pig. Excuse me. It's not a bad thing.
When pigs fly, is that what you're saying?
No, that's not very encouraging. So this is an encouraging thing because it may feel like it's never going to happen sometimes. But you have to believe in the unbelievable. And that is the nature of this work. I mean, it's sometimes hard to believe, but when you have really validating messages, specific messages coming through, it does open yourself up to, oh wow, I don't even know what's possible. So, oh look, it's your name. There's the C, there's the I, Is it O-N?
It is O-N. It's C-H-I-O-N.
Oh, okay. So this is how Spirit's spelling it and how I am understanding it, but it's your name right under here. So you're the flying pig in this situation in the best way. Now, pigs are lucky. When I think of pigs, I think of piggy banks. So when you see the symbols, you think of all the connections. So financially stable, savings. Let's see what else is above you. I see a word above you now. One of the words I'm seeing is fate. So this is going to feel like meant to be.
In this show, we talk to people who have done onion divination, cheese divination, and it seems to me like, I wonder how much of this work is the tea leaves, the onions, the cheese. They're all the same thing, just manifested in a different way. They're just another way for the message to come through a certain vehicle. Is that right? Does that feel right?
Absolutely. There's cloud divination. There's, I have read information in bath bubbles or in a pattern on the floor or, some sort of wallpaper. It's about the visual messages that you're receiving as a reader. So anyone that can divine things visually can pretty much read just about anything and get information that way. It's all about intention.
So what about me when I leave here? Now, I used to be a total atheist, anti-woo crusader, and then things happened, and I completely have changed, and now, bring it on. I feel cracked wide open. I know that there's more. I'm sure of it. And so I'm open to this stuff. And so when I leave here, I just spent an hour with you. This will be edited for broadcast, but I just spent a long time with you. And I wonder when I leave. When I tea leave, I feel like as a result of spending this time with you, I might be more open to seeing messages in new places. Is that something that, am I just making that up, or is there a difference between you and me?
No, that would be so cool if your experience from having a tea leaf reading here today opened up the curiosity and the gifts within you to interpret messages wherever you are, and Spirit will respond to that if you're wanting to explore that gift within yourself. I would say anyone can actually learn this and continue to grow with it. And so if you wanted to go and take this experience and then start to see things, that is actually Spirit showing you new ways to communicate with them. So it's wonderful.
Thanks to Rebecca Zaretzky, Heather Wright, Anna Newberg, and Kaza Marie Eyersman at Tea and Tarot Boutique in Clinton, Connecticut. Check out beautiful photos from our visit by Connecticut Public's Ayanna Brown at ctpublic.org/audacious. This show is always lovingly produced by Jessica Severin DeMartinez, Meg Fitzgerald, and Robin Doyon Aitken at Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford. Now, we have dabbled in this realm before. In one of our earliest episodes, we had 2 psychics, and in another one, we met a couple of people who make a living as animal communicators.
This work changes people's lives and changes the animals' lives. Animals who are in pain and nobody can figure out what it is, and then I talk to them and they fix it, or if they're misunderstood somehow.
We'll have links for you at ctpublic.org/audacious, but your future self is going to thank you when you subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We love your opinions and your show ideas. Send us an email, audacious@ctpublic.org, or send me a note on the socials at Kyone Wolf. Peace.